Hey Dior, this is King Black, and I want to get into a little bit of a heavy subject with y'all today, and that's about finances, about money, about making sure you're debt free, to take care of your business fiscally, Now, we all want to live large, and that's no fucking secret. All of us want to get up to that apartment in the sky, you know what I'm saying? But when mortgages, credit cards, loans, they're just one fact of life, and one that we need to be in constant control of. Otherwise, you're going to drown in your own bills. You can't sit back and be comfortable making only minimum monthly payments on these things, man. Especially when you have high interest debt, like credit cards that can easily go up to 25%, or payday loans, which nobody should be getting those, but those things could be upwards of 1,000% APR. That's insane. You have a lower interest rate going to a loan shark than getting a payday loan. And what you should be trying to do and make sure is that you lower it as much as you can, if not pay it in full before the due date. So, let's say you have a $5,000 credit card debt, but the minimum monthly payment is $100. Don't pay that $100 because more than likely half, or if not more than half, of that payment is going to interest only. So maybe if you can afford it, 175, 250, 450, depending on what your budget allows. But you should always try to pay more than what it says there under minimum amount due, especially if you want to get rid of that debt as soon as possible. Nobody wants to pay out more than they have to. It just doesn't make sense. Now, if you live in your life always putting things on credit cards, and you live for that, you pay it up, you pay some of it off just so you can use it again. Priorities are a little upside down if that's the norm for you. You always want to keep a handle on your credit health and know where your score is, because it can change more than you think, and for many reasons. And as I have stated before in one of my previous videos, that a credit score not only determines if you qualify, but at what interest rate you qualify for. Over time, that can mean hundreds or even thousands of interest dollars a year over the lifetime that it takes you to pay off that debt, or over the life of the loan. A lot of the money that you spend that goes into interest, you could have been saving. You got to look at the big picture and not live way beyond your means. And this means not worrying about keeping up with the Jones, getting that new iPhone X, when you know you can barely afford to pay the plan on that phone. You have to think smart. It doesn't make no sense if you're living in a shack with the iPhone X and a freaking iPad mini 6 or 4 or whatever in your hand. You got to make sure you got food on your table, food in the fridge, and you're living right. You got clothes on your back that look nice. It doesn't have to be super name brand. Don't got to be no Gucci belts. You got to make sure you take care of yourself and yours and your family. You can't be having, I see some of these welfare queens out here with a better phone than me, iPhone X, but their kid is walking around in diapers. They ain't got no shoes or socks on them. Got like a shirt that looks like it's a year old. That breaks my heart, man. Just to look fancy, man. The length some people will go to. They will be willing to let their family suffer as long as they look good. Unless they're going and walking around with them counterfeit Michael Kors bags. Anyways, so running a tight ship can save you a lot of money. But it's easier said than done though sometimes, right? Because sometimes that shopping spree or that last minute splurge is, at times, it feels too tempting to pass up. But those are the moments that you have to snap yourself out of it and convince yourself that if you want it, you have to consider, is it a need? And if the answer is no, then just leave, because the longer you linger around that store or that section, the higher the chance you will give in to these splurges and be like, oh, I'll deal with it later. I'll just swipe the credit card and worry about that later. Also, when you are able to get a credit card or loan paid off, that minimum monthly payment you're making ends up going right back into your pocket, or it should be. You should be putting that in the bank. So if you're able to pay off a debt that your minimum monthly payment was $100, you should be putting at least 80 of that into the bank and live like if you were still making that payment. So you can tighten your budget a little bit and live within those means. And at the same time, you're building yourself up something for later in the future. You know, everybody should build up a little nest egg so that when it comes time to quit, when it comes time to retire, you ain't got to worry about living Social Security check to Social Security check. You know, you can be that fancy old person driving around a Mercedes and not care because it's paid off. You can take those vacations that you want to take. You know, if you can't afford to buy it now, save up for it. That's my biggest advice here. Now, you're keeping more of your money if you do this than if you rely heavily on credit. But also importantly, it gives you peace of mind, which is just as important. You know, keeping yourself stress-free helps you live longer, and you will keep some wrinkles from forming. Also, there's no better feeling than not having to worry about a couple more bills added to your shit. Set a goal of reaching and maintaining a credit score of at least 700 or above, and you will be in good shape. If you got a bankruptcy on your record, man, don't despair, because although it takes 7 years before it drops off your credit report, but in that meantime, you want to still be repairing your credit the best you can so that when that thing drops off, your credit score jumps and future lenders see that you have made a good faith effort in rebuilding your credit, that you haven't put yourself back in the hole again. And after the fact, you establish more trust. Back in the day, people would say a man is only as good as his word. Today, that's how creditors view you and your credit score. You can say whatever pity story you want, whatever family problems you want, whatever medical problems you want. The lenders don't care, man, what your personal story is. All they care about is what is your credit score first off, how much you have in savings, or what are your assets. Do you own a car? Is it paid off? Do you own a house? Is it paid off? Do you own any other kind of assets, stocks, bonds, whatever? And they care about how much you currently have in your savings. You know, they want to make sure that you're not reaching higher than you should be. I mean, if they're worthy creditors, because sometimes, like these payday loan people, they don't care. You know what I'm saying? They'll give you easy credit. Say, yeah, I'll give you $100, but they don't tell you the interest rate up front or what they're charging you. It's a small print at the bottom of the form you sign. And it might say something like 800%, 600%. And that $100 loan, by the time you finish paying it off, turned into 500, 800. And then people fall into the cycle of having to take out payday loan after payday loan just to keep their head above water. Eddie R. King Blackout. But before I go, you guys should check out another channel on YouTube called The Financial Diet. You know, check them out. They got some good tips, whether you're in school or not in school, if you're a professional, if you're just a regular everyday Joe or Mary. They got some good tips on how to save money, how to invest, how to keep yourself in check, you know, how you can still purchase things on a budget, or what you should be looking for in your wants and needs categories, you know, how to save money, how, you know, to make yourself a better person in the financial sense, how to become a little bit more frugal, a little bit more money smart. Everybody should be looking, especially now that everybody's talking about income inequality, everybody should be looking to keep their money tight and in their own pockets. You know, don't be giving any more to the 1%. You know what I'm saying? Keep that money for yourself. Even if you may never be part of the 1%, but you'll be comfortable. And I'm not saying be a Scrooge McDuck and hoard it all and die leaving behind a fortune. I'm just saying build yourself a cushion so if emergency comes, you'll still be able to float. Don't be like the Titanic, man. Don't sink so far in debt that you will never come out. Alright, peace out. ADR, King Black.
Killed me. No, I don't really. That's the way we wash our hands. La, 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 la.